بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to a new episode from this series of the principles of understanding. We said in the first episode that we are going to go through a process for understanding, or a process of understanding. In this process, we are going to describe the principles of understanding. So we are discussing in this series the principles of understanding and the methodology of deduction. In the previous episode, we spoke about the importance of this topic, the importance of having a methodological way in approaching al-Islam, a systematic way in approaching al-Islam or in understanding al-Islam. We went through different benefits of having that system. And of course, there are many other benefits, but because of time constraint, let us maybe stop at this point with regards to those benefits. Remember, brothers and sisters, I'm not going to go through this process in a very detailed and academic way. I am trying to, insha'Allah, by the help of Allah Jalla wa Ala, I'm trying to go through it in a very simplified way, in a way that all the brothers and sisters watching this series will be able to understand it without even going to a teacher. They can take it as a foundation, and they can build on it. Many brothers and sisters are unable to approach teachers, or they are unable to dedicate certain times to attend courses, although that is much better. However, let us utilize this technology that Allah Jalla wa Ala has given us, which is TV, in order to benefit from it, and in order to benefit the things, or understand or study the things that we cannot study elsewhere. So, let us go through these principles of understanding. Now, brothers and sisters, if we want to understand anything related to any subject, what do we need to do? Brothers, sisters, Al-Islam is the deen of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Is the deen of Allah Jalla wa Ala, the system, the way of life that Allah Jalla wa Ala revealed to mankind. And Allah Jalla wa Ala wants all of us, Muslims and non-Muslims, to approach al-Islam, to be able to understand al-Islam, to be able to implement al-Islam. Now, some people say, how can non-Muslims implement al-Islam? Yes, once non-Muslims implement al-Islam, means that they become Muslims. So, this deen should be a very rational deen, should go in line with our rationality, should go in line with our nature as human beings. It should maybe have some restrictions about our understanding, about our rational argument. It might have some restrictions with regards to our what we like, our desires, and this is something normal, because this life is a test. However, this deen should not be understood or should not be seen as an alien system to some people. It is an alien system to non-Muslims. No, non-Muslims can appreciate this system as well. Muslims, of course, they should appreciate this system more because of their endorsement for the principle of Tawheed. What do I want to achieve from this point? I would like to emphasize that anything with regards to approaching al-Islam is considered to be a natural and a rational argument that any one of us, Muslims and non-Muslims, can understand. Please bear that in mind. If there are non-Muslims who are watching this series, then please just put attention to this point, and you will see that Well, Islam is very simple, or actually the process to understand Islam is very logical, and hence you can understand Islam. What is this process? As I said, this process is a very natural and rational process to understand anything in our life. If you buy a new machine, let us say a new laptop, and you want to know how to run this laptop, what are you going to do? The basic steps that you need to follow in order to run your laptop and you start working on your laptop. What are those steps? You and your wife at home, you bought, for example, a washing machine, and you want to start using it. What are you going to do? What are the rational steps that you need to stick to, or you need to understand in order to start working on this machine or using this machine? I'm sure every single one of us will say, and please, brothers and sisters, again, as I said, although this topic is a little bit academic topic, but it can be simplified in a way that all of us can understand it and can benefit from it. Don't think that if you have studied a little bit about Islam, that this topic will be so simple that you don't need it. On the other hand, don't think that this topic is so complicated and hence you don't need it because you will be unable to understand it. No. It should be a topic that can be understood by various types of people. As I said, you and your wife bought a washing machine. What are you going to do in order to know or to understand how to run this machine? Let us think about it for a while. If you are sitting with your wife, please do ask her, on your life, in your normal life, what are you going to do? I'm sure every one of us will come up with a different answer. However, if we collect all these answers, we can classify them into a process that is followed by all of us. We can classify the answers that have been provided by different or varieties of people can be classified into one process. I'm sure all of us will say something related to we need to see the manual of this machine. The manual of this machine. Why do we need to look at the manual of this machine? Yes, we need to look at the manual of this machine in order to see the instructions related to this machine. Okay, I am sure, because I have taught this course number of times to different people. Some people would like to say, when I ask this question, they say, well, maybe some sisters will say, we will ring, for example, other friend. And the other friend who bought a similar machine will be able to tell us how to use this machine. Fine, that is good. So you are referring to someone who will be acting as your manual. Is this true? Can you see the similarities? Very similar. Either you refer to the manual or you refer to something which is equivalent to the manual. Someone will say, as some has said to me, that we will ring the 0800. In Britain, for example, the free line is 0800, and actually it is the free line in so many other countries. 0800 in order to contact the manufacturer or the one who sold us this machine, and we will ask the manufacturer how to run this machine. Look at this answer. Don't you think that this answer is similar to going through the manual, or first of all, getting the manual? I'm sure all of us will agree on this. Okay. So, in summary, we all agree that we need to get the manual. Please, and I'm not breaking a joke here, okay, don't say that I will try to maybe switch it on and press this button or press that button or use that switch. Don't say this, because I don't think that this is an acceptable way, because you are trying and you might damage your machine by doing this way. But all of the sensible people will say the answers that I have given to you, which can be classified as one step, which is what? To get the manual. Now, let me go one step further. You bought a machine, for example, let us say, any model. Now, in some countries, there are regulations in terms of mentioning certain brand names, and I don't mean to promote a certain brand. So, please, let us be careful. Let us say X brand. So, I bought a washing machine, X brand. And there are so many other brands, Y, Z, A, C, B, etc. If I, as I told you, I bought X brand, can I use a manual that has been written for Y brand? Of course, everyone will tell me, no, you cannot use that. That is not right. You cannot use a manual written for Toshiba machine to run machines made by Sony. I think all of us will accept that. Let us pause here, or let us have a break, think about it, and we'll continue inshallah after the break. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and we'll come back. Just before the break, we said that it is impossible, it is nonsense, that someone bought a machine, Sony for example, and he's going to use Toshiba. Or someone brought Bosch and he's going to use the manual written by Indesit. It is impossible that you buy, for example, an X brand mobile and you are following the instructions provided by Y brand mobile. As simple as that. So once we say you need to get the manual, we mean that we need to get the right manual for this machine. Agree, brothers and sisters? So this is the first step, to get the right manual. Is there any other way rather than saying the right manual? What about ringing a friend? What about ringing the manufacturer? What about asking someone? Why don't we say refer to the right source about this machine? Now we have mentioned a machine. Let us take another example. You want to move from point A to point B to visit a friend who lives in the other side of the city. Either, for example, here in Bombay, you want to move from point A in south of Bombay to point B, maybe north of Bombay. What are you going to do? You might say that if you already know the direction, that is easy. But let us say that you don't know the direction. What are you going to do? You are going to say, I am going to ask someone about the best way to move from point A to point B. In London, for example, we are using navigators. Navigators guide us to move from point A to point B. In many other countries, they will say, we will use a map. And some people might say, I'll just start the journey, and once I am stuck, I will stop, pull over, and ask maybe a policeman, or I will ask someone who lives nearby. Can we classify all these steps to one step that is common between all of us? I think we can. What is that? Is to refer to a source of information regarding moving from point A to point B. Do you agree? Let us compare the example of running the washing machine with the example of moving from point A to point B. In both examples, the first step was to get a source of information. Not only to get a source of information, but to get the right source of information. Whatever you say, it can be classified under this classification or under this major step. Now, let us move to the second step. Brothers, sisters, I hope that you are writing. And this course have been developed into a study guide, and inshallah it will be published soon. But I hope that you can write in order to follow these steps in a systematic way. Okay, what is the second step? Let us go to the example of the washing machine. You got the manual. What are you going to do? You are going to read the manual. Is that true or not? You are going to ask someone and listen to him or listen to her. You are going to ring the 0800 and listen to them. What is the point of reading the manual? What is the point of listening to the instructions given by a friend or by the manufacturer? Let us take the example of moving from point A to point B. If you use a map, you will start looking at the map tentatively. If you are using a navigator, you are going to follow the direction carefully. Or if you decide just to start your journey and then ask someone, once you ask him or maybe her, you will listen to him or to her tentatively, carefully. What is the point of listening carefully? What is the point of reading carefully? You need to understand the instructions provided to you by that source. Agree, brothers and sisters? All of us. Do we agree on this? I am sure that all of us agree on this. We need to read in order to understand. The purpose behind reading, the purpose behind listening carefully is what? Is to understand correctly. Not to understand any kind of understanding, but to understand correctly. What does correctly mean? Correctly means to understand as the author wants you to understand, not as you want to understand. When you listen to instructions from someone about anything, you don't listen to him as you would like to understand these instructions, but you listen to him or to her as he or she wants you to understand. And we normally say those who, for example, make mistakes, they make mistakes because they haven't understood the instructions according to the intention of the one who has given the instructions. They actually have understood the instructions as they want to understand them, which means that you have to have the right understanding of the source. Brothers and sisters, does that make sense? Have you understood it? So the first step was to get the right source of information. The second step should be to understand that source correctly. Okay, is there any possibility that we don't understand this source correctly? Yes, of course. Let us say that you bought a machine manufactured by Germany and you don't speak German. Okay, so you got that machine and it is written in Germany. You can read it because it looks like English, however you won't be able to understand it. That is a very clear and maybe an extreme example. Okay, but if it is written in English and your understanding of English is not perfect, you might think that you have read it, you have understood it, but your understanding needs to be checked out. You need to make sure that you had the correct understanding, the right understanding. Okay, when you listen to someone, you need to make sure that you have listened to him tentatively, means you need to make sure that you understood him correctly. That's why if he looks at you and he sees your eyes moving around, he will say, did you understand me? Did you get what I'm trying to say? Why? Because it is not enough to get the source, but you need to have the correct understanding of the source. Okay? Now, I think all of us come up with a conclusion that we need to have the right understanding. Agree, brothers and sisters? So, the first step, to have the right source of information, and then the second step is to have the right understanding of that source. Okay, that's excellent. Let us move to the third step. Is there any step further? Yes, of course. I haven't started to run the machine. Remember the example of the washing machine. Yes, we had the right manual and we started to read it, and it is written in English. We understand English, so we are reading carefully in order to make sure that we understood it carefully. After we came to a conclusion that it is likely that we understood it carefully, we will now try. For example, the manual says, switch it on, wait for 5 seconds, and then put this button on, and wait for a few seconds, and then decide which program you would like to go for. And then you will start following these instructions and implement those instructions one by one. You will putting an effort in order to follow this understanding of this source carefully. Again, let me say that point again. You will try to follow, to implement what you understood from this right source. Don't say that I am following this source. No, I am following my understanding of this source. Okay? Now, I think it is the time to end this episode. But I would like to summarize what we have discussed. We said that the first step is to get the right source of information. The second step is to understand this right source correctly or rightly. And then we need to move to the third step, which is the implementation of what we understood from this source. We will discuss this third step in details, insha'Allah, in the coming episode. Until then, I would like to ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to keep us alive until we cover the third principle, insha'Allah, in the coming episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Mm-hmm.